Hello and welcome to the September 12, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. I need approval of the minutes for the August 8th, 2023 regular meeting.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Communications from the audience for items not listed as a public hearing on the agenda. The items under new business with an asterisk has a public hearing mandatory. So if anybody would like to speak to anything besides those, they can come forward now. All right. New business. First item, 345 West 14th Street and 345 Collin Park Drive. Site plan request for a 41-unit apartment building and 5 townhomes. Applicant is Dwelling Place of Grand Rapids and Community Action House. The applicant can come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marieli Mesa. I'm here with Dwelling Place of Grand Rapids, and this is Isaac Norris,
Good afternoon.
project architect with IVNA. First of all, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak here this evening and on our proposed development project. So I will just start off by talking a little bit of how the development came to be and a little bit of the history of this development. So we were approached by Community Action House, which is a local nonprofit here in Holland. I'm sure most of you know about it. They had moved their headquarters from Collin Park Drive to another part of the city, and they wanted to build affordable housing on the previous site where they were at. And they approached Dwelling Place to do so. As we were having conversations on what we could possibly build here, the City of Holland released a request for proposals for some surplus parkland that you guys had, and we decided to combine these two sites into one project that would be composed of a multifamily building and several townhomes at the city's property. So as you can see there on the screen, you can go to the next one. So you can see there on the map, it is all along Collin Park Drive. It is 2 separate parcels owned by Community Action House and the City of Holland. Next. You can go to the next one, I believe. So a little bit more of the design. We held 4 community engagement sessions, and we were seeking feedback from the community on what they wanted to see. And as you can see, there's a lot of blues and whites because they want, as it is right along the lake, they wanted to see more of something that would look like a lake house. So therefore, they suggested a lot of blues and whites, and we were able to incorporate that into the design. This multifamily building is composed of 41 apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom. It is a 3-story and with elevator access. It also has a management office and a community space for the tenants to use. And you can go to the next one. As I mentioned, it is 41 1 and 2 bedroom apartents. I'm not sure I can see much in there, but I have the information here. The 1 bedroom are 642 square foot, and the 2 bedroom 803 square feet. So you can go to the next one, and it is a 35. It is 35 feet tall, so you can see it up there on the renderings. Go to the next. Now the townhomes, which is where they're proposed to be built where on the city's property. It is 5 townhomes, 3 bedroom, 2-story, and attached garages. And as you can see, there are several different colors for each townhome. That is something that we also received feedback on from the community. They wanted it to blend with what's already in place there, so they suggested a lot more of earthy tones to be able for it to not like necessarily pop, but like blend within the neighborhood a lot more. So. And as I mentioned, these are 3 bedroom, 2-story, and they are 1540 square feet. And you can see the renderings there. I think you have right there with your packet the project narrative. As you can see, we had initially proposed this development with another site located on 16th and River. We decided to withdraw the 16th and River because As most of you may know, our other Holland project, First Hope Attempt, was unfortunately not funded in the LIHTC April round. So we decided to incorporate all the sites and play with as many scenarios as we could to see what would be the strongest and most competitive application to be submitted in the December round. As we evaluated those, it was determined that the Collin Park properties, along with another property that, another part of the project of First Hope, to be included into one. And this would be composed of 61 units. So the 41 at the Collin Park Drive multifamily, the 5 townhomes, and another 15 apartments at Hope Church's site. So, yeah, any questions?
What did you say the 2-bedroom square footage was?
For the Collin Park, that was 803. Yeah.
Okay.
And the 1-bedroom, 642.
Okay. Any questions? Dave?
The one question I had is, why didn't you just lump them all together?
Well,
Yes, I like all of them.
well, we would have loved to do so, but that would be a lot of units, and that as much as we want to see all of those units be built, there's a cap on how much credit we can ask, and yeah. So we were not able to do that.
What was the feedback on the one that wasn't funded as to why it didn't meet the criteria? Was there any feedback on the 16th and River?
Yeah, so the study session, I'm not sure if you were here last month at the study session, we had shown the design. The people wanted to see something that blended more with the neighborhood, which was what we had proposed. As you know, Midtown Apartments, which is one of Dwelling Place properties, is right across the street. They wanted to see something that would go from the 2-story down to 3-story down to 2 stories. So at the corner, right across from Midtown, it was proposed for it to be a 3-story and blend down into 2. We received really positive feedback, but unfortunately, we were not able to include it into this project.
Any other questions?
Yeah, is the Hope First project, is that still 2 separate buildings, or will that just be, because you said something like 15
It
apartments?
was 2 separate buildings, yeah. It was
Okay.
2 separate buildings. We are only incorporating Hope Church's
Oh,
site.
okay, gotcha,
Yeah,
the
not
15.
First United Methodist.
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
Mhm.
thank you.
Any other questions? Is this a public comment?
I'm part of the team.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Hey, I love the bring the kid to work day. That's awesome.
Yeah, we hitch them while they're young.
Yeah. What is your name? Please state your name.
Stephen Wooden, 101 Sheldon. I'm the Housing and Community Development Manager for Dwelling Place. To Ms.
Awesome.
Owen's point, the feedback we got from MISTA, one of the things that is true about all these 3 sites is they all score very well from a site criteria perspective in terms of proximity to amenities, areas of economic activity, areas of opportunity. The current QAP, or the most recent one, and now the current one that has just been updated, still places a heavy emphasis on credit efficiency, how many units you can create with your ask. And so as a result, being able to utilize this site, which is larger in space, so it allows us to accommodate more units at one site and incorporate the Hope space, allows us to have an application that really maximizes that efficiency. And ultimately, we believe makes the difference between what was a less successful application the last time and what we hope is a very competitive application this time around. So,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Is that everything that you needed to tell us?
I believe so,
Okay.
yes.
Steve, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Sure, maybe just a couple comments. It's probably just a refresher that you're being asked to only approve the project on Collin Park Drive. So even though they might be packaging this with another property, that is already approved. So they don't need to get that reapproved. So we're just dealing with Collin Park Drive. So I know you've got my staff report. I guess I just wanted to point out a couple things. One, I did want to note that with the South Shore Village plan, that if you recall, there was some renderings and some visioning that was done with that. At least that's staff's opinion, that this is very similar to that. So kind of right in line with what we were kind of thinking with that South Shore Village plan. And then two, I know in the staff report you saw there was a bit of conditions or concerns maybe from fire department. Since the staff report's been written, I think they actually have either all of them addressed or they're well on their way to clearing all of those items as well. So really, there really isn't much there other than maybe just some of the normal conditions. I know we talked a bit about bike parking earlier tonight. They will have to provide some detail about how they're gonna handle all of the required bike parking as well. But again, the conditions that are in there are really just sort of normal conditions. So staff is recommending approval with the conditions that are in the report. I just wanted to point out that many of those things from the fire department are already taken care of.
Okay, thanks, Steve. You may have a seat. I'm going to actually call for a public hearing at this point in time. So I will open a public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward on this project, you may do so now. No? Okay, I will close the public hearing.
I move we approve the site plan with the comments and conditions noted in the staff report.
Support.
Any discussion on that motion?
Yeah, I just want to thank Community Action House for always recognizing a need and responding to it. Scott Rump says the ED over there, and finding a partner who's I'm always happy to support the projects that Dwelling Place puts in front of us. So I just really appreciate you partnering and giving us the opportunity to do that as well. So this is a great project. Fingers crossed that they get this one across the finish line and we can move forward. So thank you so much for your efforts.
I'd like to echo that as well. I love the idea that this is what affordable housing can look like in Holland. Also, great to hear, and I'd heard about it earlier today, the possibility of packaging this with the Hope Church project as well, that it had some issues with funding. We've done a great job at the city level, both with Planning Commission and City Council, on trying to get as many of these projects approved and moving forward to the extent that we have the ability to do this. Let's hope that you're able to get the funding that you need to be able to actually get shovels in the dirt and the buildings up. So really hopeful for that, but great work on this. This looks fantastic.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor of the motion currently before you, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Wonderful. You have our full support. Thank you very much for coming in. Next item on the agenda is 40 and 48 West 16th Street, 39 and 43 West 17th Street, site plan request for a 29-unit apartment building. Application, Dwelling Place of Grand Rapids.
Withdrawn, right? Sorry, and that's the project that was withdrawn. So because that was a separate project, we wanted to make sure it was on the agenda so we could recognize that. But that's the one that was withdrawn.
And right there in red, this application was withdrawn by the applicant after notice of public hearing was published. Correct. Letter C, 111 Central Avenue, special land use request for a fenced-in outdoor learning environment on a portion of the property. Applicant is ODC Network. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Thank you for letting me come in today and chat. So,
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Travis Williams. I'm the CEO of the ODC Network. So I have some slides, and I'll use those to maybe just give you a little background on what we're doing and get you caught up on where we're at. So we operate multiple early childhood centers in our community. We have a nature-based model that we operate under with about 400 children enrolled across all of our facilities. One of them is here in the city of Holland and operates in the first floor of the Stowe building at 6th and Central. And we have been in that space for a couple years now. We've also, prior to that, operated out of Pillar Church, and prior to that, operated out of the Anderson Workman building. The program is partnered with Hope College and the Otto Area Intermediate School District and serves as a lab school for Hope College. So one of our big intentions in this is that we've tried to keep this facility within walking distance for students in downtown. So if you, does this help me advance, or do you have to?
Steven's
There,
got the
Steve's got it.
controls.
So jumping right to here, this is a good slide just to show you our kids are all over the community. They have been for multiple years now, so this is not a new use in any way, shape, or form. We visit many of the different resources and assets within the city to engage the children in place-based learning in their community, out in the ecosystem they live in. Most of the kids that go to the school come from right around downtown Holland. So I just want to make sure you understand that. You can go to the next slide. A couple years ago, we actually built the Sally Smalley Playscape and then donated it back to the school. When we did that, we had some selfish intentions in that as well, which was to have a place where our downtown school could go to have a nature-based play. We build these facilities at all of our school campuses we own. So this really was helping serve the downtown. The south end of it is fenced in. And is kind of the safe fenced-in space that our preschool goes to. The good and the bad of this whole scenario is that this park has become extremely popular, and at times has made it difficult for our kids to be in the playscape because so many other people are there. You have tulip time, you have other things that go on that just make it difficult to always use this space. We recognize that. We also are in the middle of establishing 1,000 new childcare slots across our county as part of an ARPA funding piece that we secured through Ottawa County. And so we are expanding our work at the Stowe building and building out more classroom space, and that will inherently we need some other space to be able to take the kids safely outside. So if you want to click forward. We have been trying to find a spot in our community for a while to do this work. It's hard when you work in the middle of downtown. There's not a lot of open spaces for this. But the Spoolhoff family, who owns the parcel that's identified on here, has shown interest in supporting what we're doing and has agreed to let us fence in a small area, 45 feet by 75 feet, in the kind of back south or northeast corner of their property. So that we can have another area that we can safely go to. The big key is having it fenced in. It's just safer for the kids. It helps the teachers. When you're not in the fenced in area, you have to be on hyper alert of like where the kids are, how many. We're constantly counting them. Being in the fenced in area doesn't eliminate that, but it does lessen the ability for that child to get away from us in some way, shape, or form. So we want to be able to have free play and outdoor time, and that's what this would be used for. So if you flip to the next slide, and maybe right to the next one, you can see the design plan that's here. We are not planning to build it out like the Sally Smalley Playscape by any means. We want to drop a single shed in the middle, a standalone freestanding shed you buy from a pre-built shed company. It'll be a wooden structure, have a metal slide-up door on it. This isn't a cheap shed. These are relatively expensive. But the reason we want this kind of a shed is because when we don't expect to necessarily be in this spot for a long, long time, and we can just pick it up and move it and take it away. Everything that you see in the image is just laying on the ground. We have licensed playground designers and construction group in our organization, so we'll build it out safely. The only things going in the ground here are 4 trees and the fence posts. So the rest of it is stuff that we could pick up and take with us and clean it right back up in no time if we choose to leave or need to because the Spoolhoffs sell the property or whatever else might happen. So this is a space for just our kids to go use. It's not going to be open to the public. And it'll serve our downtown preschool. So that's what we are trying to do, and if I'll take any questions you have.
Any questions?
Yeah, actually, can you go back a couple of slides to the overhead photo? So, Travis, since this overhead was taken, cities extended College Avenue and 5th to connect to it. Is this like at the end of where the College Avenue build out is now? And I know that this site has got all kinds of.
It's north of that.
It's still north of
yeah.
that.
College ends at 5th. There's like a small little stub.
There's a
that
small
comes
little
off
stub.
It, but
Yeah.
it turns into 5th.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
This
'cause
is more directly across kind of the eastern end of the large condo unit on the corner of Central and 6th. So they look out at it.
okay. Okay.
And it's back off the road quite a ways, so it's not up near the road at all. It's kind of tucked back in the corner there.
Okay.
Some scrub brush
It's,
and.
okay, because that's the lay down area right now for a lot of the
Yeah,
Sixth
and
Street
there's
project,
nothing,
right?
all of the laydown is essentially on the concrete area. It's
Okay.
not in this grass. So this is the last time I was down there was nothing in the lawn area. It's all in that concrete area. So it's even outside of that. And just to note, if you've done any development or construction lately, as Nate can probably attest, if this is approved, we have to get a fence company to put it in. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 months just to get the fence company to put the fence in the ground. So this could take us a while to put it into play.
Okay. And if I understood you correctly, you're thinking about this as a temporary kind of
Yeah,
solution?
long-term temporary, but temporary. Yeah, I mean, it's we're still trying to figure out. We have a 5-year lease with the WinQuest Group on the Stowe building.
Okay.
At some point their company is growing and they're going to want the first floor. We have an arrangement with them to be in there for now, but our organization is actively kind of seeking where permanent home might be, and working with Hope and all the stuff. There's just a lot of variables at play that kind of keep us downtown, but it also makes it a really hard spot to figure out where we can be. So.
Okay. And congratulations on making the Sally Smalley Playscape so popular that you use it the way that you want it
We're our
to.
own
I
worst
can attest
enemy
to
on that
We
one.
use
So.
that, yeah. Dave, did you have a question?
Yeah, just about, is the site capped? I mean, is the soil safe for kids to play on?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we are governed by a very strict set of licensing rules that we will have to abide by, and one of those rules will be to have environmental testing done on the site. So we will have soil testing done to confirm.
Everything on that side of.
Yeah, we're well aware because we ran into it when we were building Sally Smalley too, so.
You said you have a 5-year lease at the Stowe building. How
Yeah.
far into that are you?
We're 1 year into it.
Just one? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not really a question, more of a comment on ODC and just the extraordinary effort they've done in like overcoming the childcare shortage that we have in the community. Stepped up in a huge way in partnership with employers, and I just think if we want to get more people back to work and having great quality childcare everywhere is huge for us. So the fact that you're doing this and doing it well deserves to be commended.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes. This does require a public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward at this time, I will open it. Just state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name's Deb Ralia, and I live at 29 East 6th Street, looking right out onto the space that we were just talking about. And we're excited about this space being used the way it might be, and I'm in full support. And I'm not here to represent the entire building, but everybody I've talked to in the building is in Downtown Place is in support of the project. And we had a lot of questions, but we've seen the layouts and heard the great meeting that Travis had with us, so we're in support.
Great.
Hope you vote yes. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else on this item? No? Okay, I will close the public hearing.
I move we approve the site plan and special land use for the outdoor recreation use at 111 Central Avenue as shown in the site plan with the following conditions. Dig will be needed before installing the fence or excavating.
Support.
Any discussion on this motion?
I've got a couple of things.
Uh-huh.
One is, because I
Yes.
always do, one is just as a matter of disclosure, my mother lives in Downtown Place right across from this, but have not talked to her about it at all. But in case anybody says, well, the mayor's mother lives there, of course, he's going to vote a particular way. No. And second of all, just to echo what Ms. Owens said, ODC has done incredible work in this community in a lot of different areas, whether that's childcare, whether that is preschool, whether that is getting people connected to the outdoors, whether it's being a great partner with the city, and always do things in an incredibly high quality way. As we mentioned prior to the public hearing, building a playscape window on the waterfront that has become so popular that it's difficult for them to use it in the way that they had first envisioned being able to use it, I think is a testament to their not being their own worst enemy, but the fact that they do things so well that this community really appreciates, takes advantage of, and enjoys. That thank you for doing this and all of the other work that you're doing as well. We appreciate that.
Any other comments, questions on this motion?
Maybe on the path of transparency too. My son goes to this school, and my in-laws also go to or live in Dwelling Place. But I'd echo what the mayor noted too. I mean, I think it's just such an amazing asset to have such quality spaces in downtown Holland, especially trying to create access for kids in the downtown area to have this really, really awesome nature-based programming and education. It's such a really good asset. So as difficult as it is in the downtown area to do this, I'm glad that you've found partners and that there's opportunities to still provide that vital service to kids in this area. So,
Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor on this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. Thank you very much for coming in. Next item on the agenda is 387 West 17th Street, site plan amendment request to the previously approved site plan. Applicant is David Harrell on behalf of Port 393.
Hi, everybody. Candace Grant from Port 393. I just wanted to come and thank you. I know I'm taking up more of your time, and trust me, I appreciate it. I value it. I am sorry that we have come upon some challenges with our build, and we're really wanting to change gears a little bit. You know, in updating, we want to make sure that it is safe, handicap accessible, all of those things. And getting into the house, we're seeing more challenges than we anticipated. I do want to say, just like the city of Holland, we want to do things at a very high quality level as well. If we're going to do something, we want it to be beautiful. You know, the downtown here, the parks, like everything is gorgeous. We want to give another beautiful building. And so we actually found David. David was born and raised here in Holland. I used to hang out with his sister in middle school. But he has been out in Vail, Colorado, building multi-million-dollar homes, just beautiful structures, and has recently relocated back to his hometown to start his new business, and said, I just need a project. And I'm like, I've got a really big one for you. So again, this is not taken lightly. I do appreciate you all hearing from us again. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David. So thank you.
David Harrell, 400 Tier Trail, Holland. Just with what Candace was saying, with a lot of the structure that's currently there, with the public being in there, there's a lot of hesitation of ADA. For instance, some of the structure is held up by a C-clamp. So there's a lot of rework to be done. So then some of the new design, I don't know if you can go through. So that's the current garage. So some of the architecture will stay similar to what it is and move the garage forward, which is going to be into a storage area, so they can use that for the venue. This will allow the handicap ramp to be hidden behind, and then you can have a courtyard feel for the venue. Then in the front of the unit will have similar glazing than what's there, and then coming across as a fence line, as there's 3 lots down that has just a continuous fence, but this will be out of siding material versus a fencing. This will allow to hide the dumpsters in that area. If you can, so that's the profile and elevations. Also walking with Candace, the current structure, the neighbors were having some activities that weren't complacent to a venue, or so that's where the back deck came about, and to just kind of screen the area so people using the venue and getting ready won't have something in the background of photos that they just wouldn't like, as your wedding photos are iconic. So if you can, I think the site plan. The setback also to the property, we're keeping it in line with the rest of the buildings. So we're not coming forward to keep that residential look. So then on the access points, to move the dumpsters around is what came about, so they can walk from the current venue to the getting ready suite. So that's where the dumpsters came about, to relocate that, and then the storage area up front. Yeah, the other thing, we went with new siding and new windows because the current windows are not weather tight. Many of the ADA requirements. Yeah. So with that, I think there's one more. Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, I guess that's not on there. So just with the new design, we kept it similar to what the house is, with a garage having a flat roof, and then the eaves coming up to have a residential look, but still with a commercial feel with what's on the west side of the properties. Are there any questions on the,
So the top picture, you're looking at it from the east?
That would be what would be up against
yes,
the neighbors.
yep, that would be the neighbors.
Would be looking at that?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the fence in the back that you were
Yes.
talking about, to
Yeah.
add an extra screening
Yes.
from the neighbor's
Yes.
backyard
Yep.
to this backyard.
Yeah, currently there's a car and a tent, and they're just out in tables playing loud music, so.
Okay. And then you are looking from the south in the next photo down.
Correct.
Okay.
Which kind of
And that's what you would see from
From the
From the
sidewalk
road.
and
from
the
the
street.
roadside. Okay.
That's where the dumpsters would be.
So you're hiding the dumpsters, and that's the garage.
Correct, which will be a storage.
Okay.
And
Yep.
where's the door?
It's around back, and we also have one on the front side.
Where on
If
the,
you, from the east, oh, that's not updated.
Yeah, so it's on the floor.
It did
plan,
have a
it's on the
door,
front
yeah.
side.
Yes, right in there. There's a door in there to accommodate the requirements.
So that door accesses the garage or the building itself?
The garage,
The garage?
yes,
Okay.
the storage.
Okay.
The garage is all the way out to the edge of the property line, or I'm not.
It's 17 feet off the property line.
In
It's
other words,
set back.
The front of the house is further back than that.
But
Correct.
17
Correct.
feet off a sidewalk, actually,
Or
not
sidewalk,
property,
yeah.
yes.
so the garage used to set back, now it's coming forward. But there's no door that goes into the house, it just goes into the garage.
The ramp, if you can go back, well, no, Steve, sorry. You had it up there. So if you look to the left on it, you can see the wheelchair ramp. That's the entrance to the getting ready suite. So we had to do a wheelchair ADA ramp because of the elevation of the current structure.
Where's that, Steve? Can you put your mouse on there?
If you look at the left photo,
Oh,
you
from
can
the
see, it looks like a Target. That's the parking lot, correct? Between the home and the reception like the main building?
Could
Is
you
that,
This is a fountain.
That's a,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Gotcha.
gonna be more of a
Like
courtyard
So your
feel.
courtyard, okay.
Yep.
And that ramp is off that courtyard.
Yes, yes it is.
Just west of the garage is the current parking lot.
Correct, yes.
But the courtyard, so that ramp, that's all on the north side of the property. So what I'm asking is that you're looking at it as a house now, there's a front door, front entrance from whatever street that is.
17th.
From
17th?
17th.
So
There will be a door,
there will be
but it doesn't go into the getting ready suite. It goes into the storage area.
the garage, okay.
Yes.
And it will be facing east, not south, from 17th. You won't see it from 17th. It'll be on the side of the garage.
So now it face
Correct.
west, it will flip and be on the garage.
Yeah, if you can
Okay.
see the current picture Steve has up there, where the ladder is where the current entrance is to the house, right
Mhm.
behind there.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of other construction aspects to that, is where the roof line is too short, just for building codes, to get anybody in the residence as a public access.
And what you were saying is that when you extend the garage forward, you aren't going any farther forward than some of the houses on that block. Like you're
Correct.
following the same line.
Correct,
And
yeah.
setback, okay.
Yes.
Can you go back to the other picture, Steve? There you go. Any other questions from the applicant?
I have a question. So you
Yes.
talked about some of the, structural issues being
Yes.
in the garage. You showed the picture, obviously, that was a large crack. Are there more issues in the main house, or is it mostly just the garage?
It's mostly the garage, and then the house is due to the ADA requirement of the 5-foot turnaround, so that it's a very small house. So requirements for 2 bathrooms and access for 6 bridesmaids, it's kind of challenging, but we've come about to having a open floor plan as it shows.
What if they have more than 6 bridesmaids? I mean,
Maybe.
They're gonna need a bigger space.
Well, and you gotta include mothers and mother-in-laws too.
true.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be I know it's gonna be a great venue for the area, and a lot of the photos, the opportunity to take photos around when brides are getting ready and grooms are around, and just their opportunistic photos with the courtyard, and
Yeah, the neighbors weren't being any fun.
Any other questions from the applicant? No? All right, thank you.
thanks.
Steve, did you have anything to add to this one?
I would, if you don't mind, just real quick. So, we've already talked a little bit about this, but the picture on the right is the existing home and the existing plan as we approved it. Obviously, the one on the left is the proposed plan. So, if you remember, we also rezoned this to NMU, the Neighborhood Mixed Use Zoning District. And really what we did when we approved the remodel of the existing home, it wasn't gonna change. We recognized that while they weren't going to meet all of the NMU requirements, so for instance, the glazing requirement right here from the front of the street, the front door, the setback, we recognized that when we approved it, because I think the comment was, well, we know what we were gonna get, right, this is what it was gonna be, nothing was gonna change on the outside, and so that got approved. So, moving forward now, I guess I just want to make sure everybody is at least understanding or comfortable with these changes. They've indicated that the glazing that you see, so that south elevation, as you've already talked about, is what's facing the street. Those are the windows that would be essentially replace what's out there today. Their calculations are that the existing glazing requirement, about 10.7% window, they're gonna be at 11%. So certainly well below the 60% that we would normally have for NMU, but a little bit better or the same, I guess, of what we've got out there today. The setbacks that we're talking about, so
you can see in the picture that's the house that's there today, the garage sits back from the front of the house. Now the garage will come forward, and it has been mentioned, they're trying to keep in line with that established setback that's on the street. But they won't be meeting the NMU requirement, but they certainly are getting closer to compliance by coming forward. But they wouldn't be all the way meeting that requirement either. And again, I think it's fair to say with trying to respect that, the residential setback that's out there today. The addition of the storage area, so you can kind of tell from that picture too, that the existing garage is a one-stall garage. It's coming forward. It is gonna get a little bit wider, so there's sort of the philosophy that, well, you put the addition on, shouldn't the addition meet all of the requirements? We had a little bit of that debate with the dollar store a little bit further down. So again, the logic here being that while they're coming closer, they're getting closer to compliance, but I guess, again, I just wanted to make sure we're all well aware of maybe some of those nuances of that. You've got in your staff report, I did put the criteria that we use. I tried to highlight some of the areas that I thought were coming into play with this. Again, mentioning some of the things that we've already talked about. You do have the ability, one of the allowances is the Planning Commission can issue the special land use to allow for less glazing than what's required. So if you felt like that garage addition, triggered the idea that they needed to come into compliance with that, you can allow for less glazing. One of the comments I made in the staff report was, well, unlike the NMU setbacks, this building is a little bit further back. At least, my assessment, a lot of that glazing is, when we have buildings right up to the street, you want to have that sense on the street of having some more windows. This is a little bit further back, so maybe that justifies having a little bit less glazing than what we normally have. You guys have the ability to do the special land use if you want to allow for that. And then I guess I point out sort of that last standard in there about renovations and alterations, as long as they aren't becoming less conforming, right? That was the standard that's in there. And all of these changes, they are certainly different from what we originally approved, but I guess my assessment was, at the end of the day, it isn't more non-conforming than what we had previously approved. Certainly is different, and in some ways, by having the building come closer, maybe it's even a little bit more conforming. So, sorry, long explanation. I guess I just wanted to point out those few things. Staff is recommending approval of the project the way you see it here.
I have more of a procedural question, but this is really detailed technical thing, but for removing and relocating the dumpsters, is there anything about putting dumpsters on like a non-contiguous, like it's not on their property anymore, like Port 393's property? It's not, technically it is, but it isn't. So is there anything that
We've allowed
would preclude
others to
that?
share that, so
Okay.
so that by itself isn't a problem for us. Obviously, it's being screened, so it's meeting our
Yep.
dumpster screening requirements.
Okay.
And it's on the parking lot side, it's not.
Right,
that,
right.
That makes a difference.
Yep.
Any other questions?
So I'm trying to get a sense of what it'll look like. So if I understand it, you're gonna move the garage to be in line with the front of the house. So now that it's not a garage anymore, what does it look like? What am I looking at when I see the three windows over here on the whatever, on the existing house? What does it look like?
So the three windows on the the current house,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
those are the three windows there. And then the garage gets pulled forward, which
Right.
The architectural simulates a garage door, but the garage door is around the corner,
Okay,
because it's just used for storage.
okay. So it's
So-
just gonna be
It's
siding?
siding,
Okay,
yes.
that's what I'm looking,
Yep.
that wasn't
Okay,
it wasn't clear to me. So it's
Okay.
just gonna be siding?
just gonna be siding, yes.
Okay. So are you opposed to putting windows in that side of the building?
Not, not opposed to it, it just doesn't serve a function in being storage, because I guess in aesthetics, I guess, would be the only thing, if you want to have windows through there.
Well, there's something to be said for aesthetics,
Yeah,
I think.
yes. Agreed with that. I just think with function, because the back of that will never be utilized. So I'm worried it's a storage area
Yeah.
for broke glass, which anything like that, it'll just have a covering over it, in a sense.
So I'm thinking about what the family video that is now a dollar store. We asked them to add more glazing, and so now all they do is put storage up against that window.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's,
Against the window.
So like I think our idea was right, but and so I'm thinking along those lines, like what you're saying. Of course, they didn't say that was what would happen, but of course, if it's a storage room, it's going to come. So I just wonder if there's
Aesthetically, any improvement? that
yeah,
maybe-
I don't know.
I think the landscaping is gonna take care of a lot of that.
Okay.
The shrubbery in the
Mhm.
front of that, taller shrubbery,
Yes, that makes sense.
then it won't just look like a wall,
Mhm.
and that,
Yeah, I wouldn't just make it look like a garage door.
I mean, basically what they're doing is turning the front of the house to the back of the house so that it faces
Mhm.
the event venue. So people are going back and forth. They're not really coming to the front. It's
No.
the side and the back.
Correct.
So all we're doing here is making the front look like the street, make the appeal to the street, which is what we want to do.
Right.
Because like what we're doing, they may sell it one day, and it might be but something else. So we have to remember that the windows on the storage part, it's a garage. We don't really have windows on garages. I mean, technically, that's what they're trying to make it look like. So I think it's gonna look nice compared to what's there. So I think we're doing good, but I think we also have to remember, if they sell it, what's it gonna be?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's our concern, actually, if they
We have to
sell it.
plan for the long term,
You have
but
to plan for the long term.
Sure.
It's not just, and I know Candace doesn't wanna sell it,
I don't ever want to sell it.
but her kids might want to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If she's not around and she's somewhere else, we have to say, all right, well, this is now mixed use, what are they gonna do with the building later, so. but
Is it a combined parcel now with both of the buildings or are they separate?
they're-
It's still separate right now.
can you speak into the microphone if you're going to
Yeah.
explain anything, please? That's okay.
At this point, it is still separate. I would think eventually we'll kind of merge them together, but we've just been busy, so we haven't really done anything with it yet.
Yep, one thing at a time.
Yep.
So I appreciate you making the windows a tiny bit larger. I know it's a small house, so obviously 60% would be, ridiculous, so.
Yeah,
I appreciate you making a little bit of an
Given-
effort.
Given the uses of it, I mean, you've got a changing room and 2 restrooms, so on that end of the building, you wouldn't want enormous windows there.
I will say, though, that on the rendering, it looks like you're going to do something very artistic where the garage is.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
Is that what
there,
I'm
David?
seeing?
where the,
you're right.
What
The
would be the
the
garage?
fiberboard,
In
yes,
front of that.
yeah.
like
What are you doing there?
That's a great question.
Well, that's what I was asking. He said it was just gonna be
He's gonna find
siding.
another
I
garage
don't,
door and put it there.
that's what I was asking about.
We can put siding through there, but with a pattern siding as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So,
Yeah, great.
and then if you would take the view from about 3 foot up, that's where the shrubbery, so the actual rendering or the true
Mhm.
finish would be 3 foot above. And so you'd have a sense of a garage door is what that was meaning.
Yeah, okay, now I
Yeah.
get it. Now I understand
Yeah.
what your
So
picture
it's not a
is.
garage, but it's
Sure.
intent is to look like a garage.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what Dave was saying too. Yeah, so, yeah, thank you for that explanation.
And also, for clarification's sake, you're bringing the garage further up than the house, though,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
It's not one solid line
Correct.
for the 3 windows and then the garage. It will be a separate depth.
That's correct.
Okay.
The face of the garage will be equal to the rest of the houses on the street.
Some of them, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Not any farther than the farthest one, or the one closest to the sidewalk. So, and you're doing something very interesting with the roof line there, too.
Yes.
It's gonna be
Can you explain that?
With the roof line, keeping the pitch as it is, So it just comes up as a modern, I guess coming from Vale area, we love the look of the old craftsmanship style. So where you have all of the all of the ends where they're exposed underneath the soffit, and then it's a cross between a modern and a lodge style look, which.
Okay. Great. Any other questions for the applicant?
One more question, maybe just for clarification. So where that design in front of the garage, is that on the actual siding, or is that forward and you're hiding the dumpsters behind that? Because you talked about having,
Siding through.
pardon me?
It'll have siding through, and that will be more like an arbor look to it, not attached to the garage.
Okay, and then there'll be storage in between that and the garage, is what you're saying, or?
No.
The garage will be the storage?
The garage will be the
Yes.
storage,
So
yes.
there's no dumpsters on the 17th Street side?
No.
No,
That's-
where it steps down in the building is where the dumpsters would be behind it. That
To
makes
the-
sense
to the-
on that south
the-
side of it, yeah,
Yes.
right
To the
there.
west
Closer to
side
the
of the-
parking
Yeah.
lot?
To the west side of the garage.
Yep.
Okay, good clarification, thank you.
Just have to make sure the employees park in those spaces.
Any other questions?
So you can get to the dumpster.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
And at this time, this item does require a public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward on this item, they can do so now. I will close the public hearing.
I move that we approve the amended site plan and approve the special land use to allow for a reduced amount of glazing as shown on the plans as presented.
Support.
Any other discussion on this motion? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you all, again, I appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda, 730 East 64th Street, rezoning request to rezone the property from industrial to corridor mixed use. Applicant is the City of Holland. Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, good evening. Matt Van Dyken, the Assistant City Manager here for the City of Holland. So this piece of property is actually the orphaned piece of property that was left over when the city realigned 64th Street. I think all you remember, if you've gone through that way, that was a pretty dangerous intersection with those intersections being offset. So that's made that area a lot more safe. However, it has resulted in a surplus, kind of an odd-shaped, roughly 1.2 acre piece of property. The City Council directed us to put that up for sale, which we did. And we have had an offer on that property. We actually have basically a buy-sell option with them while they do their due diligence. One of their pieces of due diligence is the fact that we can actually rezone the property to a commercial use. The property was originally industrial. It's pretty obvious to me, at least, that a 1.2 acre piece of elongated property is probably not going to be an industrial use at any point in the near future. But they think they've got a plan to come up with a commercial piece. As you can see from the existing zoning and the master plan, all the zoning around that is already corridor mixed use. I might have said commercial mixed use, but I'm not Steve. So your master plan that you have approved and that City Council has already approved also calls for that to be rezoned to this commercial use. So we would request that you would approve this rezoning. If Steve has anything to add?
Usually.
Yeah, sorry.
Almost always.
I will just add one thing. No, that was very good, Matt. Thank you. I'll just add one more thing. In the industrial zoning district, or I should say, on that map, on that zoning map, you see that black line going through this piece of property. That is a piece of that airport overlay that clips this piece of property. That's important in the sense that we don't, the airport overlay does not allow high or low intensity manufacturing, industrial manufacturing. So again, just another justification of removing the industrial property and going with how the master plan has recognized the interchange area to commercial. So staff is in support, and quite frankly, even if we didn't have this applicant in front of us working on this piece of property, we would be in support of changing the zoning to this piece to the CMU district. So we're looking for a recommendation to City Council to do that.
And if I could make just one more additional comment, from a safety perspective, M40 is an MDOT-controlled limited access highway. So we would not be putting a street cut and having access off of M40. Folks that would use this establishment would actually use the light to safely come in off of 64th Street to get into that piece.
Okay. Any other questions?
Does the overlay take more of the acreage, or is that the 1 point, whatever you said, 5, is that considering the acreage or the overlay too, or no?
It takes about, half of it, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
It's the half that is the more buildable half, just because of the shape of this lot. So yeah, it's roughly half of the property that gets hit by that overlay. I think we had maybe, here's a little bit different map, so you can kind of see that cross-hatched on the right. And they, of course, would have to come through and do site plan approval if they want to proceed with anything. So this is just the rezoning.
Okay.
Makes sense.
It's an interesting piece of property.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it'd be industrial. I mean, it's so small with that. It's
Yeah. All right, thank you. This does require a public hearing, which I will open at this time. Anyone want to come forward on this item? No? Okay, I will close the public hearing.
I move we recommend approval of the rezoning of 730 East 64th Street from the Industrial Zoning District to the Corridor Mixed Use Zoning District to City Council.
Support.
Any discussion on this motion?
I do, as always.
Okay.
I not really discussion, but just pointing something out that I love it that the city of Holland needs to come in front of the planning commission to ask for a rezoning of a piece of property that it owns. I think it's important for the public to recognize the fact that the city follows its own rules, and that we have to go through the same process that a private property owner would have to in order to do something like this. We do that with site plan approvals as well. The city doesn't get to do just what the city wants. We follow all of our own rules as well. And we've got to convince our own planning commission to follow recommendations that come from our staff.
Anyone else?
I just think this is highest and best use for this property right here. I mean, that's on the highway corridor. If you look at the size of the McDonald's truck stop across the street, they can put a coffee shop or something over there, maybe make that work. I just hope where the curb cut is safe. That's about the biggest concern that I have.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor of the motion before you, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. No? All right. Thank you. Next item, text amendment request to Chapter 39 Unified Development Ordinance to include a City of Holland banner policy for community improvement, neighborhood organizations, and business districts in sections 39-8.03 and 39-8.05.
So we have a couple of UDO amendments to go through real quick. So this first one is the amendment to allow for banners. So right now, they're really just allowed in the downtown area. So this amendment would allow for them in other areas, other neighborhood districts and other commercial areas. So the couple amendments that you see here are just putting that into similar spots in UDO. I think the one on the left is you don't need a permit. The one on the right is recognizing that they could also go in commercial and industrial districts. So they would follow the same banner policy that we use in the city. It's also sort of a sister project with this, is that we were asking City Council to amend the banner policy itself. So that has been worked on by Tricia, and the city attorney are working on that. So I did include it in your packet just because we reference it in here. The recommendation from you that we're looking for is simply for the UDO changes, these couple insertions here that would allow for the ability for the Washington Squares, the South Shore Village, and some of those areas to have banners on light poles and things. So that's really what this change is. there's the banner policy. I did include it in your packet, as I say. That's gonna be something separate that city council will look at. So the other amendment that we've got, one of the other ones, is for that light transmission. We've talked about this. I think we most recently talked about it with the Lakeshore Advantage building, where there was two codes kind of bumping up with each other. The idea of having, clear glass, and then the energy code, those two things weren't talking very well with one another. You can get a waiver for that part of our code, but I think we recognize that there was, with the Lakeshore Advantage building, there would be 3 buildings just on that corner now that wouldn't be meeting the requirement. So why don't we just adjust that requirement? So that's what we're doing here, where we're bumping down the 80% visible light transmission to 70%. And those come into play in the form types of the commercial building and the mixed-use building. So in our form-based code, those would be the areas that we would adjust down to that 70% rather than have it at 80%. I did include the graphic that we talked about before, so you kind of get the sense for what that change means. But again, this is really about 2 codes that we're bumping up against one another, and let's go ahead and make a change rather than have to do a waiver every single time, because they don't play nice together.
I do have to say, Steve, this is one of the most helpful graphics I've ever seen you put before us.
Thank you. Sorry. And then finally, the last one, this is the last one for this set of amendments, the Design Review Board. We really just are making a change to reflect, to update that to make sure that it's accurate. So this is really just a correction. We're not changing the makeup of the Design Review Board. We're changing the code so it matches what the makeup of the Design Review Board is. So those are our Udo amendments. Short and sweet this time.
All right, any other questions? You were talking about just F, correct?
Excuse me?
Were you talking about just F, item F?
I'm sorry.
Or did you move on to G as well?
Yeah. As
You
our
did?
normal, maybe Udo policy, we've just been doing all of them and maybe holding the public hearing separately. Sorry.
Okay, nope, that's all right. I just wanted to clarify for the public hearing
Sorry.
part of it. So, any other questions on either one of those from commission members?
I just have a comment. I think it's great that we're changing that down to 70%, because more and more of the new buildings that are being built downtown, like Hope was just talking about, LEED certified, so they would probably be coming to us for a waiver with the tint anyways. So I think that's great to just take care of it now and be more energy efficient going forward.
Especially if their second level is an event space.
Right.
Yes, that's a lot of glass.
It is. Mhm.
Any other questions? All right. I will hold the public hearing for letter F currently. Open? No one? Close the public hearing. And I will open the public hearing for letter G. And I will close the public hearing.
I move that we forward these amendments to City Council for their approval on both items F and G.
Support. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, letter H. Planning Commission Fiscal Year 2023 Annual Report.
So you've got the big report in your packet. I just had a couple slides I thought we would just quickly run through here. This first one is a picture, a graph of our work plan that we went through. So those highlighted items were the priorities that we selected. I guess one of the things that I really liked about that is we included some of the priorities from City Council, the Neighborhood Improvement Committee, and DDA. So it kind of shows you how that we were all kind of in line with one another. So that is in the report. This one is kind of a work in progress, but this is in the annual report. I guess what I was trying to show here is the items that we've been talking about and sort of how we've done progress
progress made. And so in the master plan, you know, we took some time, and each of those sections, each of those topic areas has its own little section that looks just like this, that kind of talks about what that 2017 action step is and progress that were made. So I guess I thought I would, rather than just highlight those areas that we prioritized, I thought I would include all of this in the annual report, just so you could see the work that we've done and the work that you've done since 2017. So I thought it would be a nice way to include that in there since it was already done. And then you've got some of the data that we collect over the years, so you can kind of see trends, and these are the site plan approvals. I think we've talked about that at a previous meeting, a little bit up from last year. Again, some of the work making recommendations to City Council, different types of projects. It's worth noting too, and I know we've talked about this before, but the UDO amendments, right? We've really counted each round as one. So maybe that's not fair, you know, looking way back, but that's how we've been counting, you know, each round of UDO. So if we've had 20 amendments during the process, but it was in one round, we've counted that as one. So yeah, I know you guys have done a lot of work on that. Included the map again to kind of show others where the projects took place over the years. So the different colors representing different types of projects. And again, some of the data about some residential units, the makeup of those. Each year we just list the current year, so you can go back and look and see what made up of 2022. We don't list that in every annual report, but just the current year. And then again, just tracking affordable units as well. That's a really quick wrap up of the annual report. So hopefully you guys you know, took a look at that. And then our plan is, again, with some of those links, you know, we're gonna wait till the master plan is done so that we can enter those in there so that they'll be active and current links. And we're gonna do that, we're gonna wait to do that, so we'll submit it to City Council after that's been done. So probably the first meeting in November, if you guys approve, that we would forward it on to City Council.
Great, thanks, Steve. In all your spare time.
Yeah.
All right. Scheduling of public hearings, there are none. Communications from commission members and communications from staff.
Just a reminder that the public hearing for the master plan will be the October 10th meeting.
All right. Motion for adjournment?
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No? All right.
All right.